Hi there, this is Katie Groves, and in this video I'm going to talk about some things I'm deprogramming right now. I was watching an old favorite stand-up comedy routine of mine by a woman named Andrea something, don't remember. I'll put a link to it in the description. It's not humor for everyone. I assume that the stories she tells in her routine are true based on the way she tells them, and that she is a survivor of incest and that she is trying to overcome her trauma, or was, by doing comedy about it. These are videos I found when I was a teenager when I was trying to deprogram myself and get out. I don't think I was programmed to watch them at all. In fact, quite the contrary. And as I was scrolling through the comments section of this video, I found a comment from my own self from 5 years ago when I was 16 and going through an extremely difficult trial in the programming. And I actually left a reply for myself that was really healing. Sorry, to scratch my eyes. I left a reply for myself, kind of talking to my 16-year-old self, simultaneously to myself in the past and to my present alters who are still reliving that trauma inside. Kind of explaining that we've since gotten sober. In a week we'll have 4 years of sobriety, and that we were programmed, we have DID and all this stuff, and it was very cathartic for me. And then I clicked on that profile. It was under the name Dylan Groves, as Dylan was the part of me that was hosting during that time. And I found quite a lot of music, a lot of which I still listen to, actually, but not on a regular basis. And I found this song by an electro-industrial band, Angels on Acid. And I will put a link to that in the description below, not to trigger anyone, but only so that people can understand where we're coming from when we talk about the parts of our system that we're dealing with now. So we found this song, and parts of us tried to stop us from listening to it because they didn't want to get activated or triggered. We did listen to a little bit of it, and it really brought up some parts that we're now working with now. It brought up these electro-industrial heads that we have yet to deprogram. And my God, are they broken. This is not an attack on that genre of music or that subculture. Don't get us wrong, but it's just these alters of ours. We can see them inside in full cyber goth gear with our quote-unquote ex-boyfriend, who was actually someone we were pair bonded with in the mind control, who was our twin in the mind control. I don't know if y'all know what that means. I'm going to make a video on twinning at some point soon. I've been meaning to for a long time. It's a very difficult subject for me. And he himself was in that subculture. And what I'm finding is that these parts are blissed out on pleasure programming. I talked in a recent video about deprogramming light side, dark side alters. And for that system that I was speaking from, the light side alters experienced pleasure in the vanilla sense. They were very hippie, acid, like rainbow child types, the pleasure alters. But the pleasure alters in this system, one would not call light, like on the light side of a light-dark duality. But there isn't really a duality in these systems that I can see actually between light as in vanilla and dark as in like bondage, electro-industrial kind of thing, like Satan worshipping versus goody Christian or weed smoking hippie, kind of try to be happy all the time. In this case, these alters are into hardcore BDSM and reliving their trauma, through overstimulation. So overstimulation with music of the electro-industrial variety. A lot of them like Marilyn Manson too. And overstimulation with drugs like meth and ecstasy. And lots of hardcore mixing of pain and pleasure. So in this case, these altars have duality reversals. And I'm not placing judgment on the BDSM community and people who like pain as a form of pleasure. But for us, for these altars at least, in this system, it is about reliving trauma and numbing the pain of the trauma with the physical pain of sadomasochistic sex. And it's about recreating traumas in order to prevent them from processing. So creating an unsafe environment for their inner children, even though these parts are teenagers, for the younger kids in their system that they're dissociating from, it's about creating an environment that looks like the trauma so that those inner children can't come forward with their actual trauma and process it. This is a really interesting phenomenon in traumatized people, is to recreate your traumas so that you can't process them, so that it's not safe for the inner children to come forward. So what I'm doing with these parts is I'm slowly working with them to detox off of the pleasure. We call this a pleasure detox. And to bring them in touch with their inner children and their trauma. We're first making them aware that the guy that they were with at the time, the one we were programmed to be with, was too old for them. Really was too old for them. That at 16 you should not be with a 24-year-old. At least not in my opinion. If the age of consent in your state is 16 and you want to date a 24-year-old, I'm not here to place judgment on you. I'm just saying for us, we should not have been with that guy. And I'm helping these parts to see that. I'm helping them to see their trauma with their father. I'm helping them to see that they don't have to stare into strobe lights in order to dissociate anymore. And I'm helping them get into their bodies in the room that they're in. And this may sound weird, but this is a really helpful healing tool that I have for integrating with trauma and reassociating my system, is to go inside the trauma, the physical trauma that the part is experiencing. So if the part's having a flashback, then they're going to be physically reliving. At least in this case, they're physically reliving a trauma. And so it's helpful for me to go into the room that they're in which they're reliving the trauma, into the space, if it's not a room, but into the space, and help them to get in touch with their bodies in that flashback. So don't try to bring them into the room here. Like I don't try to bring them into the room here, like into this bathroom in 2018. I'm trying to bring them into their bodies in our bedroom in our mother's house in like 2012, 2013. And that will actually quickly take them into the present moment with us in our body here. They have no frame of reference for our current reality. If they saw what we looked like now, they'd flip out. They absolutely hate our appearance now. And they would not know what to do with us being 21 and not know what to do with us being sober. So while it is helping them to come piece by piece into the body in this moment, in 2018, I don't start them out there. I start them out getting into their bodies in the flashback. I'm helping them to develop a sense of time. I'm helping them to let go of their identities. So much of it's around pain and fear. All of the clothes, the whole scene that they were in, it's about pain and fear. And again, I'm not placing judgment on everyone in that scene. I totally respect the goth and industrial community. Absolutely love it. It's just these child parts of me were not in it for healthy reasons. So the music in my head is starting to die down a bit. That song was playing over and over due to the activation. And now these parts are coming back to center. I'm seeing them come in contact with core traumas from when they were infants, from when we were an infant. And I'm starting to get a sense of me. These parts are me. I am not separate from them. And I love them, and I think they're beautiful and wonderful, and I want to support them in finding a way to relate to the subculture that they were part of without doing themselves harm. I don't think these alters are going to fully integrate with me right now. I think a lot of them are going to stay separate and are going to have to explore and experience the world through their own eyes for some time while they slowly learn to be more healthy about the things that they're interested in, while they slowly give up the coping tools. So some polyfragmented parts of them are integrating right now, and some parts of them are choosing to remain, or naturally remaining, separate, and are going to develop more full-fledged personalities and develop a better relationship with themselves and with the things they value. A lot of these parts are Satanists. They very much hold satanic ideals. It's been a big part of our deprogramming process to help these alters who are Satanists find what parts of their value system to keep, what parts to amend in some way, and what parts to wholly discard. We have not fallen victim to the Satanist Christian duality flip that we see some survivors of mind control fall into. And I really want to be careful when I say this because I don't want to pass judgment on Christians, especially on Christian survivors of mind control. If you are a Christian survivor of mind control, you have deprogrammed yourself to some degree or in full, and you find that Christianity is the path for you, I am not placing judgment on you. But what I am talking about instead are people who go towards Christianity due to a duality reversal program in which their programmers have gone inside, or inner programmers of theirs have switched their value system, flipped it from satanic ideals to Christian ideals. Without the person actually going inside and deprogramming the satanic programming and finding their core values. So if you go in and you deprogram yourself and you find that you are a Christian, that's awesome. I'm not talking to you or about you. I'm talking about people who've experienced something else. And for us, we have to be extremely careful not to let inner programmers in our system try to flip our satanic ideology programming into Christian ideology and then reinforce it in a way that makes us feel like we've really healed when we haven't healed. Just adopting Christian attitudes without actually doing the trauma work is a cover-up. It's a cover-up for our trauma. And so we want to work through our trauma and really deeply examine every single belief that we have with objectivity. We don't think that everything that a Satanist has ever said or written in a book or believed is automatically bad because they're Satanists. And if we take that attitude to our alters who believe in that, who believe in Satanism in some way, they're just going to take it as an assault on their ability to think freely, and they're going to shut us out. We don't want to do that to them. So what we do is we go through and we take each belief. There are some ideals that a lot of Satanists possess that we agree with to some degree. And so what we're doing right now is we're going through and we're helping these parts to look at how they think and not label it as Satanist or Christian or pagan or Buddhist or what have you. We're instead helping them to find out in their heart what's true. Because eventually what happens is that our alters in integration, when they really find themselves, they let go of belief systems and they find that at the core of their selves is simply a resonance. A sense of being, a sense of knowing that goes beyond words and thought. And while we do fully in this system support our pagan alters who practice witchcraft in certain ways, who practice earth worship in certain ways, we don't make a belief system out of that. We try to stay detached from that and let that just be a practice of connecting. A practice of connecting and manifesting. So I hope that this makes sense. We're just doing really heavy deprogramming right now, and we're really trying to help these alters work through sexual trauma. A lot of sexual trauma is coming up. They're starting to feel really violated by the boyfriend, quote-unquote boyfriend that they had at that time. and starting to realize that he was into some really heavy occult stuff that they did not want to be in. So I'm going to end this here. I hope that this has been informative for people. I don't even know if I'll post it. I'm going to watch it over and see. Yeah, I know that our deprogramming videos like this can be a hodgepodge because we're literally deprogramming as we speak and trying to filter ourselves to a degree so that we don't give too much away about our system. So, yeah, I wish that there was not a threat of accessing so that we could be totally and completely open about everything we're experiencing, because we think it's really valuable to share this all with the world. But we do our best. Thanks.